Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with another BKFC Reddit Ask Me Anything. We're joined by somebody who's making his debut with the company, Kevin Cash Sims. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
It's always fun to like talk to somebody who's making their debut because they want to, they want the fans to know. And like, I appreciate you reaching out and saying like, hey, I want to make sure we do the show. So I'm glad you were able to get on.
Absolutely, of course, man. You're one of the pioneers in the sport, so let's keep it there.
Yeah. Prior to getting into BKFC, were you a fan? Like, how did you find BKFC with the tryouts? Like, explain your road to BKFC.
Uh, well, my road to BKFC, we had a girl come into our gym, Sharisa Sagala. She had fought in the BKFC a couple times. I had sparred with her, helped get her ready, things like that. And at the time, I was like, I still wanted to be a pro boxer. I still wanted to stay on the boxing side. But, just after a while, all the politics and everything like that, it's extremely hard to move and go upward if you don't have, the right team or the right help or the right promotions and stuff like that. So if you don't have those guys, it gets pretty rough. So I kind of was over boxing, to be honest. And then, I was just fat, and I was like, "What do I need to just go beat somebody up." You know what I mean? Like, I need an excuse to get back into shape. Um, but honestly, really, 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 like the honest to God reason was when I seen Mike Perry get beat up by Jake Paul. I was like, that dude had a belt in this shit. Like, I'm gonna go cook these boys. Like that's what that was. I was like, I can't believe he had a belt.
Yeah. I
So
mean, he has a belt. They specifically made it for his little thing. It's not like he was a champion, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was like, man, that's definitely something I wanna do. I feel like, my skill set, the way I like to fight, um, will work well here.
So we've often talked to the pro fighters and the guys who from boxing or from MMA, and they do well in BKFC, and then you have the people from boxing, from MMA who do awful. And it seems like the people who have the dog in them, the people that are the fighters do well in BKFC, and the people that are the athletes do well in the other sports where you can, get by on your athleticism. So are you a mixture of the two, or you got more of the dog? Like, what about you?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously, black athletes, so we tend to fight on the athleticism side and use our athleticism. However, I come from a Mexican gym. It's nothing but dogs in there. So I was trained to bite down and go to war. So that's why I'm like, okay, this skill set, I have a great jab. I have great long punches, but the closer you get to me, the harder I hit you. You know, which most athletic boxers, they don't really do that. They want to keep it as far as possible. And I'm ready to bang in there. Just because, like I said, we've got, Jaime Casanova. He's, a banger. Hex, he's a banger. My sparring partners, if you would see it, like I had a friend who had never seen me spar come in there, and he was videotaping, and he got in the car. He was like, "Yo, like, are y'all good? Like, does he hate you? Like, or do y'all have beef?" I'm like, "Nah, man, we get down. So that's pretty much it. I'm athletic by nature, but I come from a Mexican style gym where we bite down and throw them. So
Okay, so we've recently saw Angulo, who's a boxer. He's a very slow starter. You can't be a slow starter in BKFC. Are you a slow starter? Like sometimes the boxers like to fill people out, and it seems like that does not work well in BKFC. I mean, you do come from a gym who has a fighter who's done several fights, but I mean, is that your style, or are you like you're set to go right off the bat?
I mean, you make a mistake, I'm ready to make you pay. I'm looking for your first mistake, and I want to make you pay for it immediately. That way, you know who's in control. So the however fast they want to go. If they want to start slow, we can start slow. They want to start fast, I'm gonna bang. I'm gonna be right. I'm not going backwards. So
So Sharice's had kind of a mixed results, but can you tell us about like the coach? Like, who's your coach? And I mean, much boxing experience there?
Yeah, so the head coach is Al Franco. He's the dad. He's Pops. He's the one who owns Warzone Boxing Club. But then you also have Mike, which is a pro fighter. He was 20-0 before he had his eye career-ending injury to his eye, and then also Daniel Twitch Franco, who is undefeated as well until he had a brain injury. So there's other fighters that came from the gym. We've got Chucky right now. Um, Jaime, everybody's undefeated. So, the head coach, Al, he's got like a record of like 120 wins and like 3 losses, some crazy
Wow.
shit like that. And then, my coach is going to be, Daniel, which is more, he was my friend first. I was in his camp and, running with him and training with him and running social media and stuff like that while he was on his title run. Signed to Rock Nation, fought on all the Andre Ward cards. So he's my head coach, so to speak. But yeah, it all comes. Everything comes from his pops up top. So
BKFC's been out to California. Were you able to attend any events prior to this, or will this be your first experience and your first fight?
first experience and first fight. I almost went to one in Miami. Justin Joyboy.
Oh, sure.
He fights out of a gym that my friend's girlfriend's friend owns or cousin owns. So, I got to meet up with the people there and kind of see everybody, but I didn't actually get to go to the event. So it's gonna be a first time. I've seen it on on the
TV,
app,
yeah.
streaming services and whatnot. But but yeah, it's gonna be first time in person.
How do you train for this? Coming from the background, do you do more like gloves off? Like, have you reached out to anybody, see how they condition their hands? Do you guys already have pretty good, hand conditioning with your gym?
Yeah, I mean we focus on our hands. My hands are pretty strong,
Okay,
pretty we focus on those from the beginning. I specifically focus on them a lot more just because I've had a lot of hand issues. I've broken my hands multiple times already. Um so yeah, I mean we definitely dive into it, but my thing is I try and keep them as protected as possible. That way, when I'm in there, I mean, it doesn't like I feel like I've broken my hand and I've finished the sparring. I've finished it. Like I really don't feel like it matters too much, unless you get like a bone poking out and whatnot.
sure.
But you have a lot of wrap, and your hand's pretty secure. That's the only thing I feel like maybe if I break like a finger right here, maybe that'll hurt a little bit different. Other than that, there's somebody trying to kill me, I could give a damn about a broken hand. You know what I mean? Like that guy's still up. We're gonna throw it until it doesn't throw.
Did you see? I think it was like 3 or 4 fights ago. The dude broke his finger and like couldn't bend his finger. Like, I want to say like Rodriguez or whatever. And anyway, his finger was broke. He had to go have surgery. But yeah, he like couldn't bend his finger. Like the bone was bad.
Dang, yeah, no, that's pretty gnarly. I mean, there's so many injuries that happen here that are gnarly, but I mean, it's fighting. They happen in every sport.
Were you growing up? I mean, did you wanted to be a boxer? Like, did you play other sports? Like, what did you like to do?
I was a football player, first. Probably that was my first love, football. But my dad, we always had boxing gloves, in the house, around the house, and he always was the dad that liked to take us to the classes. So we got the work in very young. We had a good foundation for fighting, just because we were able to go to go to all the classes, and on top of that, like we were putting rounds in. I have 11 brothers and sisters, so
Oh wow.
it was round robin. You know what I'm saying? Line them up. Doghouse rules. So whoever was standing to be next one in. The girls got down too. Matter of fact, the only person I've ever been knocked out by was my sister. You know, so she knocked me out when we were like 12 years old, something like that. My dad got it on video. He's like, "Oh, you got knocked the fuck out." It was a moment for sure. But like I said, yeah, we've been fighting since we were little. We've been in the classes since we were little. My best friend, or one of my closest friends, he, does Twitch. He was going all the way with it. So I've been in a professional camp before. I've been, right next to him. I've got to go to Wild Card and spar and, see all of the big names and be in there with them and gauge myself against the top guys. So it's been a long time coming, so to speak.
Okay, so I mean, your goals. Did you? This fight's at 185, but you were also saying you're fat. Do you want to fight at 185? Or are you hoping to go down? Like, what's your what weight do you want to fight at?
Man, I'm gonna let my body answer that question, but if I have to guess right now, I might be able to go a little bit lower than 85. If I had to guess, because I'm not solid as I would like to be. Um, I was coming from 260, so I didn't really know where I was gonna end up. I was 267 on the scale, a couple weeks before they offered this fight. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking 68-ish. That's where I'm thinking I might be able to get down to, but this division is cakewalk to be honest. So I might want to just stay here and clean it up, get that belt, and then use that belt to call out. I can go up 15 pounds. I can go down 15 pounds. Perdomo is the guy where I'm like, okay, once I get everything in there, he's my prove it to myself, get him out of there, because he's a dog, you know. So yeah, but I might go down, get that belt first. Like that's my plan, is to go in there, collect some belts, be a 3 division champion, and walk off into the sunset.
Your opponent has a little bit of success in BKFC. Have you researched him much, or you care? Do you care more about what you do and you don't give a damn what he does, and your coach will break him down? Do you watch any tape on him? Do you do much scouting? I suppose.
I watched him every night.
Okay.
I watched that fight over and over every night, just to pick up every little telltale sign and make sure um I know him. The only thing is I think he's gonna see me in person and completely change his game plan, from because I'm not Keith. I'm not a volume puncher. I'm not skinny and frail. You know what I mean? I'm throwing bombs too, So I don't know. I really just I want to see, read and react. If he comes out blazing, let's blaze. If he wants to, you know, find a way inside. I know he wants to hook. I know he wants to get in the clinch. I know he wants to do that. So we've worked a lot there. I'm ready for it. I'm really comfortable in that position. Like I said, I'm comfortable getting small and throwing hard. Like I'm really comfortable with that. And so yeah, I mean, I think from what I've seen on tape, you know, he's gonna want to make this a war as much as possible and take my athleticism out of the game.
How does somebody lose 80 pounds in the last couple of months? I'm still blown away when you said you weighed 265 before they offered the fight. How do you lose 80 pounds? I mean, is it literally just loads of road work, diet? Like, what was it?
Yeah, it's diet and road work, like that the fat burning, bro, is probably the easier part. I mean, obviously, like in this last couple weeks, it started to slow down. But keeping that heart rate above 120, below 140, for extended periods of time, which you could do. I accentuate my road work, right? So if I'm running 3 miles or if I'm running 5 miles, I'm gonna run them and get on the bike and get another hour of fat burning out. You know what I'm saying? So like that was kind of one of the tactics that I was using, is after the run, use the bike to just make sure I'm still sweating, make sure that heart rate hasn't collapsed, because you don't want it to just, you lose all the fat burning that you just got through. So that was the main thing, and then sparring, bro. Like, getting this is a sport where there's a high output during training camp, you know. Um, and I had a lot to lose, so it was easy. It's work that I've done before. You know what I mean? It was,
Mhm.
and I was excited. I was excited. I knew I didn't have the fight. I didn't have an opponent, but I knew the fight was coming. You know, so about a month. So I knew 7 weeks out. So I was already training a month prior to that. And just dropping as much as I can.
So lately I've been talking to people and either from MMA or boxing, and they say they got bored in their sport and they weren't motivated, so they needed to find something new. Like, were you that way with boxing? You were kind of bored with it, and now BKFC is kind of offering you a new lease, and you have something to get excited about, or you're just like, what made you stop boxing, and then what made you like really excited to start doing this?
So boxing, like I said, it's just the business, man. It's so funky. I mean, look what Devin Haney's doing. Like that
Right,
bitch you know what I mean? Like you just got beat up and now you're trying to like, there's so much stuff that just goes on behind boxing. And when you've been the best friend of a title holder, you're managing your own fighter who's 8-0, and you have your own boxing career, like you've seen all of the evils. You know what I mean? And it's very, very demotivating to play a part in that and just be succumb to the BS of it. You know what I'm saying? So um I think it definitely got stale, and Dave is basically he's rebuilding like the UFC, but for bare knuckle. It's a company, it's owned. Like the title holders, they got there, they earned it. You know what I mean? Like you can go knock out 15 straight people in boxing, and you still are not guaranteed to get a title fight. And if so, and on top of that, you're more likely not, because everybody starts to dodge you. You
right,
know, in a company like BKFC, if I go handle my next 5 opponents and I rank number one, then guess what? The champ has to fight me.
right.
So that right there is like, the business, the way it's set up, the way they're running it, the way they're marketing it. Obviously fucking Connor, like, of course, who doesn't want to fucking be a part of that? You know what I mean? Um, it's just fast and it's growing and it's getting bigger. At first, I was like, there is it gonna get bigger than what it is? Like, like
Right.
it's gonna get big. Are they gonna be able to get to have those mega fights? Is it gonna be able to happen in California? Is it gonna be happen, in Vegas, in Madison Square Garden? Like those are the things that I wanted in originally from my life. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm like, I see the writing on the walls, Maribel, Spain, like that shit was crazy. I would love to go over there and just knock somebody out. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing where I'm like, okay, cool. It's time to just put my chin down, get to work, and go handle business, because this company will reward you uh, for working hard. You know.
So you're fighting at 85. They have a title fight. Jared Warren is going to be fighting Mike Richmond for the 185 belt. Jared looks to retain his belt down there in Florida. How do you see that fight going? Do you know much about either of those guys?
Um, I have literally watched almost every fight on everybody in the weight class.
Okay.
I don't know specifically. I'd have to pull up their face, but if it's the guys who I think it is, just because I can't verify their face right now, um, yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm looking at everybody in here, and it looks pretty lunch meat. Left, left, right, up, and down. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are gonna have a real problem, because, like you said, it's the guys who are athletic don't really do well, and the guys with dog do well. So if you have an athlete with dog, it's gonna do pretty well. So
A lot of guys aren't able to make a full-time career as a pro fighter. Are you a guy who has a job? Are you able to like, do you teach? Like, are you a boxing coach? Like, what do you do for work outside when you're not fighting?
oh man, I've mastered marketing. I managed artists, rappers, YouTubers, and done marketing plans. Built clothing lines. Self-made entrepreneur. This past couple of years, I'm not gonna lie, it's been rough. I made it, and I had a lot of money, the big old, you know 4,000 square foot house and, stars in the ceiling, on my car. Like I had it all. But, the past couple years in business have been rough. But yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. So I pretty much, run my own business outside of this.
I was looking at some of the people you managed. And I was like, oh, I like that person. Oh, I like that person. So I think it's cool. What made you get into that line of work?
Just creativity, like just being creative and wanting to be a part of, culture and create. Like, I was never the kid that just sat down in class and listened. You know what I mean? So there was no way I was gonna have a desk job whatsoever, So with that, you're outside, you're filming skits, you're doing this, you're making this connection, you're in that studio, you're putting this artist with that artist, you know what I mean? It's just it's fun. It's more like you're just living, you know what I mean? And you guys are doing what you think is the best in the moment and trying to figure out how to monetize it. So yeah, it's pretty fun. What's the best part is to see artists like, for instance, Gunna, you know, when you see them before they make it, and then you get to go and be backstage and watch him sell out the biggest arena in his hometown. Those are the things that kind of make it pretty cool. You know what I mean? When you're involved in that early process, and they, a lot of these guys don't have money to buy, a toothbrush, and then you see them on that stage. That's the fun part about it.
I feel like right now I'm experiencing the same thing that you're talking about, but with the fighting aspect. You know what I mean? Like, you see these guys who come up from the tryouts and the process. Like, look at Ruben War, like from the tryouts, and now he's headlining the main event. And you get to see these guys come from, and I'm going to say nothing, but not necessarily nothing, but you see them come from the bottom and they work their way up to the top, and then they're a world champion, and then they're blowing up, and then you got somebody like Mundell who just fought out there in Maribel, Spain, in front of Connor and everything. The world's his oyster now, and I think, like you said, it's so cool to see where everything's going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mundell's the guy, He's the guy right now for sure. I like him, I respect him. He's a great guy, but I want that smoke for sure. So I got to go in here and get my name on the radar and handle that business. But he's the guy, he's the one that I know he's going to bring, when that day comes, I know he's going to bring the best version of myself. Whoever I show up against him, that's going to be the best version of myself. So I got a few fights to get in here, get stacked, and get those going. But yeah, I when I see a guy like Mundell go from where he came from to right now, I'm like, yeah, that's the inspiring one. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay, so can you tell us about your combat, like your background? I mean, how many fights did you do boxing? Like, tell us about your pro debut, stuff like that.
Yeah. My pro debut was kind of crazy, man. I showed up to fight the guy who was on my box rec the second fight. The guy I was supposed to fight was still suspended by the commission. And so when we were there, they were like, "Hey, you can't fight." And I'm like, "What? I'm in Mexico. My mom's out here. Everybody's out. Like, we're out here. Like, there's no reason to not fight." And then there was another fight that was scheduled that something went wrong, and there was another opponent. And they're like, "You want to fight that guy?" And I was like, "Damn." I was like, "You know what? F it, sure." But we had both weighed in already. So I didn't know this guy's weight. I didn't know his height. I don't know anything about him, like, whatsoever. And fucking the fight, I just wasn't paying much attention. I just wanted to fight. It didn't matter. Okay, cool. I already did the work. The opponent's right there. Awesome. Flip flop. So I went from fighting a guy who was like 5'9", 230 to fighting a guy who was 6'3", 286. On my pro debut. And mind you, this guy had 30 plus fights already, 15 wins, multiple knockouts, had fought multiple. He's a stepping stone for multiple champions right now, so, and those guys didn't even get him out of there. So I was just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? I did all the work. I want to fight. So I remember when he hit me in the first round, I was like, okay, we still good. We're still in here. I'm not dreaming. and just bite down and got to work. I got him out of there in the third round. But yeah, that pro debut, that was a hassle. That was definitely a nerve wracking, say to speak. Just how it switched the day before, and then I had to go to sleep. I did not. When I tell you, I did not sleep. Like I didn't get 1 hour. I didn't get 1 minute of rest the night before. Like it
Just
was
because
so
nerves.
bad. So nervous, bro. I was so nervous. I didn't, you know, nervous, scared. You can call it whatever. I say I'm scared. I have high motivation and I get hit. So, um, but yeah, it was definitely an experience to say the least.
Okay, my last question I usually ask people, do you remember the first time you punched somebody out of anger? You have a whole bunch of siblings, so I'm going to ask, do you remember the first time you punched somebody out of anger that wasn't a sibling? Or your first street fight type of thing, Do you remember that?
Yeah, my first street fight was in like middle school in Texas.
Okay.
So there is a guy. Yeah, so I'll tell you this one. I don't I don't know which one was first, but there's two. But I think this one was first. So I was at school. I get checked in. I'm a new kid. I'm from California. I'm going to school in Texas, and this is the ghetto, like gangsters. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they think they're ghetto at home in Fontana. No, no. This is these guys are real ghetto, real gangster. So we what's it called? I had I had this girl that I had liked, and her name was Raven. I got her phone number, and I would call her at nighttime, and we would talk on the phone. And so we're in a school that goes from like elementary to high school, so it's just one long school. And so one day, her boyfriend comes up to me, AJ, and he's like, "Hey man, are you talking to Raven?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was talking to her. I didn't know you talked to her." He's like, "Yeah, that's my girl. Don't talk to her." I'm like, "All right, cool." I never talked to her again. It's over with. Mind you, I've been training at this point. I'm not really scared, but I am scared because I haven't been in a street fight. I've only been in a boxing ring with headgear. So I'm like, all right, I'm not talking to her. I ghost her. Never talk to her again. So like 3 days later, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, we're fighting after school." And mind you, first day of school, I watched him beat up somebody at the beat up park. You
Okay.
know, this is where we're about to fight. I know this is the school fighting zone. So I watched him fight the first day, and he knocked the dude out, and he had an immediate bubble on his eye, like a swollen
Like
up
hematoma. Yeah, yeah.
hematoma. Boom. I'm like, oh, crazy. He got power. You know. So I was a fan already of his skills, and he comes to me. He's like, "Hey, we're fighting after school. I told you to stop talking." I'm like, "Bro, hey, I didn't talk to her. I never talked to her once whatsoever." Like, I'm trying to explain myself. He's like, "Nah, f that. We're fighting." So soon as school is out, I'm booking it. I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm getting on the bus. If I get to the bus, I'm safe. This guy named Anthony Salcedo. I don't know why I remember his name. But so this is why he still wanted to fight me. He wanted to fight me because the girl I stopped talking to was not the girl that was his girlfriend. I had these two girls. I had one girl named Shay and one girl named Raven, but they were two black girls. And I didn't think they liked me. I didn't talk to them or anything like that. And I was just the class clown, and they were entertaining it, and his friends were seeing it. So they were reporting to him that I'm hanging out with the girls in the back. And so it was a mix up. So I'm running to the buses. Anthony Salcedo stops me. He's like, "Nah, you gonna fight." So now I got to do this long misery walk. This is the longest ring walk of all time. It's a mile away from the school in this ghetto ass little field, and everybody's there and they're lining it up and uh, what's it called? And I'm just like standing there like not interested. Don't want to fight. I'm trying to do everything I can to just get out of this fight. I don't want to fight. And he's like, "You better put your hands up. You better put your hands up." And man, when I tell you, he opened up and just threw this long left hook that took about 5 years to get to me. I just ducked. I said, "Bink," and just laid him out. Pow. So it was one punch and it was over with. But But yeah, I was definitely so scared. But when he threw that wide left hook, I was like, oh heck yeah, right down the pipe, boom, and I ended it. So that
Could you
was,
talk to whoever you wanted then? You could talk to whoever you want?
man, you know what? It caused a little bit more problems. I was young, so they felt like it was a fluke because my size. You know, that specific school, I ended up hitting a teacher with a chair. I was getting so bullied, man. I was a light-skinned kid from California with light eyes, and I had every single girl in that school, you know. So all of the boys did not like me, bro. So I was getting bullied at PE. My stepdad whooped my ass over failing PE, and I'm an athlete, you know. And I was only failing because they were bullying me and taking my PE clothes. So eventually, I was like, "Hey, that ain't happening," you know. And I fought both of those dudes. And then, mind you, I had already told the teacher, like, "Hey, these guys are bullying me," you know. And the teacher didn't do anything. So after my dad had whooped my ass, I was like, okay, well, I'd rather fight these dudes than get my ass whooped by my dad again for failing PE. So I
Right.
fought both of them. I beat them both up, Michael and his enforcer. You know, so I beat them up, and the teacher ran in the room trying to like act like I was doing something, and I'm like, man, I've been being bullied by these guys, and you already knew it. So he came after me aggressively, honestly. Like I don't even really know what he was gonna be saying, but just my reaction was grab the chair and I hit him, pow, with the chair. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I went to this jail school. My mom had to appeal it. It was so bad, so bad.
Well, those are some awesome stories. I was not expecting anything near that amazing. I appreciate that. I look forward to talking to you again after you get your win. Is there any message you have for anybody before we call it a night?
Um, Everybody in the light heavyweight division, watch the fuck out. I'm gonna run through every last one of you. That's the message, and it's for everybody, all of them, belt holders, non-belt holders, ranked, non-ranked, whoever's in the way. Just pray.
Well, I don't know. Like Mundell's at 75, then you want to fight at 85, then you called Zombo out at 265. I'm
No,
excited
no,
to
he's
see where you.
225. He's 220. So
Yeah,
hopefully I can go down in weight and then start just like Canelo did, get the little
yeah.
guys out of there and then
Then work
get
your
big
way up.
and then
All
work
right.
my way up. That's the plan.
All right, man. Well, look, go get your win, and then we will definitely talk again. I appreciate it. You're a fantastic person, and like I said, we're big fans on the Reddit. We can't wait to watch you.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate you.
Have a good night. Thanks, man.
You too.